The biggest consequences of not creating a culture of accountability is that the CEO and senior leaders find that they're working really, really hard and they don't really have a lot of results to show in spite of all that hard work. And so over time, it builds up in the form of frustration, stress. It basically erodes confidence in yourself as well as in your team. And that can be a really difficult place to be for a lot of leaders and CEOs. Hi, I'm Sri. I'm the founder of Agile Growth Partners. I partner with CEOs and senior teams of mid-market companies, helping them accelerate their growth. Today's topic is about accountability. How do you create a culture of accountability which will then help you and your company succeed? The main thing I want to emphasize in today's video is giving you a definition of accountability, actually a basic definition, and then also a definition of accountability as it relates to leaders. So you will walk away with a very clear understanding of what accountability means. And then also, what does it look like when accountability is missing in your organization? And then what are some things you need to put in place in order to create a culture of accountability? I have been a leader in several different Fortune 100 companies. And what I found was you can have the greatest plans, you can have the greatest strategy, but when it comes to execution, if you don't have a team that's accountable, all of the strategy and the plans amount to nothing. Or you can get very frustrating wherein you feel like you had all these things laid out very clearly, and yet those things don't happen. And you're sitting there, how did this happen? Like, how did we kind of miss the boat on being able to execute on a very clear strategy or a plan? So when I think about what are the problems that emerge as a result of lack of a culture of accountability, you'll see that customer deliverables are not meeting timelines. There's a lot of ideas that are discussed, but you don't see enough follow through on implementation. When something goes wrong, it's hard to identify who owns the issue and exactly what needs to be done in order to fix it. Another thing that I've noticed is you feel like you're constantly chasing people down to get things done. Another symptom of a lack of culture of accountability is your team is not achieving on a consistent basis. And finally, I would say one of the ways I sense that there is a lack of culture of accountability is when the CEO has a constant worry that in addition to doing their own job, they're doing other people's jobs, which basically means that they're not able to hold the other people accountable, or the team is not holding each other accountable. And that can be a very big symptom that there's an absence of culture of accountability. So in terms of tips for a CEO looking to create a culture of accountability, I'll get to that in just one moment. But first, I want to take a second to describe what accountability means. And I want to give you two definitions of accountability. There's a very basic definition of accountability, which is you will do what you're supposed to do that you committed to in the time frame that you agreed upon. Okay? So doing what you said you would do in the time frame that you agreed upon. But accountability is so much more than doing. To be accountable for something is not just about doing the activity, the task, the project, but also being answerable and somebody who can explain what is going on with it. So in a way, as a leader, when you're accountable for something, you might actually delegate this to somebody else. So the task itself could be done by somebody else. But as the accountable leader, you are still responsible for looking around the corners, thinking about all the risks that might be coming your way. How do you overcome any kind of obstacles, challenges, problems that will come with this project or task? And as you're doing that, you're also communicating with all of your stakeholders very effectively so that whatever is being promised is being delivered, or for some reason, if it's not going to be, people are informed in a timely fashion, and you can kind of come together, brainstorm, and think about the best way forward. Accountability is not about who's going to do the activity. Now, you could delegate the task to someone, but you can't just assume that you fire away the task and you forget it. You, as the accountable leader, are still the person who will be the one who is going to explain what is happening, as well as ensure that everything is taken care of. And if not, you're the one who's going to raise your hand and ask for help. If you think about what does it take to create a culture of accountability, there's a few different pieces that need to come together. The first one is what I would call intention clarity. Everyone needs to know who's involved on the project, where are you trying to go and why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? So as long as that intention is clear, it kind of creates the environment where you can have greater creativity. A lot of people spending time spinning their wheels, not knowing exactly where to go or how to go about it. So that's number one, intention clarity. The number two is role clarity, which is basically getting clear on who is going to do what. A lot of times, because we don't clarify exactly the different roles being played by people on a team, people might just assume that somebody else is going to do it. And that can then lead to confusion and things slipping through the cracks and eventually a lot of pain on a larger scale. The third piece that is really crucial for creating a culture of accountability is process clarity. If intention clarity is about where are we going and why are we doing it, role clarity is about who is going to do what. Process clarity is how will the things get done? At a very granular, detailed, step-by-step level. Somebody needs to understand that and then ensure that that process is being followed. The fourth piece that is really crucial for creating a culture of accountability is being able to create an environment that is feedback rich. And when I say a feedback rich environment, it means being able to provide feedback on things going really well, as well as challenges you're facing. And the feedback rich environment requires you to be able to provide feedback as well as receive feedback. And I think it's Peter Drucker who said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. When it comes to accountability, feedback is a very crucial part of being able to create that culture of accountability. And the fifth and final piece of creating a culture of accountability is around the communication norms. When you think about it, a lot of the work that we do, especially knowledge workers, involves communication. And within communication, there's two things to really pay attention to. One is around requests, and the second one is around agreements. So let's talk a little bit about requests. When it comes to requests, we have to practice making really clear requests. And I'll give you a distinction there. Now, sometimes people will say, in coming to a meeting, and they might say, can somebody please take meeting notes for today? Now, that is a very vague request because nobody knows, if there are 10 people in the meeting, exactly who's going to take notes. It's possible that people assume that nobody else is going to take the notes and they start taking notes and multiple people take notes. Or on the other end of the spectrum, people might assume that somebody else is going to take the notes, so I don't need to. So nobody takes the notes. In either of these cases, you're going to have confusion, either too many people taking meeting notes or nobody taking it. Also, there is confusion in the sense that you don't know if you're going to get meeting notes or not at the end of the day if you're the leader. And that's a challenge. A better way to do that would to be making a clear request. So the first one, when you say, can somebody please take meeting notes, is what you would call a soft ask. A clear request would be, Michael, in today's meeting, can you please take the meeting notes? And we will rotate that responsibility in future meetings, but for today, please do it. Now, Michael knows that he's the one who is responsible for taking meeting notes, and the next meeting, perhaps it's going to be Jody, and so on and so forth. That's the distinction between a soft ask and a clear request. A soft ask is vague, when people don't know exactly what needs to get done, by who, and by when. A clear request is when you state what needs to be done, by whom, and by when. Practicing that is crucial. When it comes to communication norms, there's two sides to it. One is being able to make a request. Another one is reaching an agreement. It's still not enough if you just make a request. The other person has to agree upon it. Now, when it comes to the agreement side, you have two options, broadly speaking. One is what we call hedging. Another one is what we call a clear agreement. A hedge would be, say, I'll try to do it. Let me see what I can do. I'll give it my very best. Imagine if you ask somebody to do something and they give you the response. You're going to walk away feeling like, I'm not sure if that's getting done or not. A clear agreement would be for somebody to respond to a request by saying, yes, I got it. Or no, I can't do it, and have a counteroffer or some kind of negotiated agreement. Clear agreement would mean that there is clarity around who's doing what, by when, and that is crucial for creating a culture of accountability. What I've noticed is if you want to build a high-performing team, a successful business, creating a culture of accountability is absolutely crucial. When you don't have a culture of accountability, it's almost impossible to build a great business. So pay attention to how does your team operate? Do you have that culture of accountability? And if not, how can you build that culture of accountability at your company and in your team? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this helpful and would love to learn more about how do you achieve your growth aspirations without burning out, check out my next video.